to purchase these properties to create Merrimount Park. He was defeated on the ballot a couple of times. He decided to take it into his own hands. He assembled all the parcels and gifted to the city. The city accepted it in 1885. Some 72 acres, 8 acres Pine Island were added at a later date, which brings it to the 80 acres. So Charles Francis Adams was quite a guy. You think about this city without Merrimount Park, that's a huge gap in recreation use. So we're grateful to him. Charles Francis Adams did take a train trip with Frederick Law Olmsted. And later, in 1937, the city engaged Herbert Calloway, who was an associate of Olmsted, to come up with a master plan. We'll just go through these slides, Mark. That was the Walter Smith shell up on Pageant that was torn down back in the early 50s, I believe. You can see the Wollaston Beach before the boulevard was truly completed. Some great old slides here that we got there. There's the plaque that dedicates where Captain Wollaston landed her fur trading post he established here back in 1625. That's along Blacks Creek, Furnaceburg Parkway to the right. That would be the bridge over Southern Artery, now Merrimount Parkway. There's the Greenberg Bridge on Quincy Shore Drive. This park is really unique. Several of these slides you see was the celebration of the 300th anniversary of the city in 1925, where they had some amazing programs up on Pageant Field, hence the name Pageant. They had pageants, they had all kinds of activity. You can see the bleachers and lighting and everything set up just for that event back in 1925. So the improvements include a number of passive improvements. I want to speak to that because you have Merrimount Park on one side, Grossman Park on the Fenner Street side, Caddy Park on Quincy Shore Drive, but they're not connected. So by bringing this plan together that we've engaged with Coffey and Wolf, the goal here is to connect them with a series of bridges, boardwalks. This will create about 130 acres of beautiful estuary open space area, which will allow joggers, walkers, bikers. This isn't just about the football field, the baseball field. This is about also the passive use of that beautiful facility. Again, it's really unparalleled in our city. So we have engaged Copley Wolf for about 2 years now, working on plans with them. We've engaged Ty and Vaughn, and we've engaged Woodman Current. This will be a very technical program that we're going to have to get permitted, so there'll be a lot of work needed. Now, it kind of intercepts or overlaps other issues in the Black Street area. For example, the tide gates at Greenberg Bridge, which we've been working with the EPA for over 2 years now. It's money you guys approved, or this body approved a number of years ago, and that still sits in an account because we haven't been successful with permitting today. There's another tide gate issue on Fenner Street that feeds one of the marshes behind Pickens Street. There's the issue of dredging Blacks Creek, the basin between Merrimount Parkway and Furnaceburg Parkway. So there are a number of pieces to this that will be tackled with the design and permitting going forward. This will take a little bit of time, but we believe we'll be successful in these portions of this. And so we'll be back at some point. This will pay for all of that legal work and design work, engineering work necessary to bring it to the next level. Again, Merrimount Park is a unique facility, and a lot of folks use that each and every year, both for formal and informal recreation. That gives you really a conceptual Hancock Street way up to the left, the beach down to the right. It will open up some view corridors for people to be able to enjoy the ocean views from different parts of the park, and really connects, as you can see, a series of, it's tough to see, I guess, on the slide, but there are a number of connections between Furnaceburg Parkway into Pageant, and then from the boathouse area out to Pine Island, and then from Pine Island over to Grossman Park along the marsh, and then back to Caddy Park, so you can get a complete loop in and around that area, which would just be incredible. So that's the conceptual look at that piece. The next piece that's in the plan is a dog park. We've been talking about this for a few years. We have a location, and this will overlap with an item in the capital improvement program. We've got 3,000 licensed dogs. I'm sure there's a few more out there that may not have the tags on them. And this has been talked about for some time. A lot of communities have gone to dedicated dog park facilities, and we think it's time here in Quincy. And we have some decisions to make, but I think we found the right location. We own 20 acres of land south of the new Avalon project up on Quarry Street, part of the deal way back when with Sertuli. And on that property is an interesting piece of property with some topography challenges. However, we all feel, including the architect, that this would work quite well, establishing a dog park in this vicinity. It's difficult to put a dog park in a neighborhood too close to homes. So this is an area where it has enough isolation around it. I think that we'd be well served. In doing that, we've got to bring the road into the site and some parking into the site. And, there's some work to do, but we feel very good about this as the location. It will allow us to build a state-of-the-art dog park, and I'll be listening to others on that because I'm not quite as familiar with the dog park as I am with a number of athletic uses out there watching my kids all these years. So we have a dedicated team on that. And I want to thank my colleagues on this. I know Councilor Forrest was very involved in this piece, but also we have an incredibly dedicated group of volunteers that serve our shelter down on Broad Street. These folks are amazing. They raise all kinds of money and do all kinds of adoption programs and really augment the minimum that our people can do down there based on the facility itself, which is very, very challenging. The next piece is the Maritime Center, and this is obviously down in Howe's Neck. I've had the good fortune to be serving as an appointee from the governor on the Seaport Economic Council, and we've been very successful with some grants for the city. And the first grant we received was to upgrade the ramp, which was did not meet standard. That was just under $700,000, and that is in progress. Then we received another grant this past year of well over around $250,000, I believe, which would then help us design a new facility. In addition, the community preservation has kicked in some money as matches to those. So we're in a pretty good place in that we've got a good partnership with the state on this program. The request in here would be to acquire 3 homes and a parking lot on C Street abutting the site. And that would, we believe, provide the necessary real estate land to provide the necessary space for boats and trailers and use of the facility. We're a city of 27 miles of shoreline, and we've limited boat ramp access for our residents. And this will help go a long way in solving that. We do expect to go back to the Seaport Economic Council when we have the design finished to look for actual monies, then construct the facility. On the citywide improvements. We have a master plan for Faxon Park, and there's a little history of Faxon Park. The same meeting in 1885, Henry Hardwick Faxon donated the first piece of land that's come to known as Faxon Park, and he had 2 restrictions in the deed. One, that it would be forever known as Faxon Park. 2 is there'd be no alcohol consumed in that park. I can't speak to the second one. The first one. Another amazing, prominent businessman that loved this community and wanted to leave something for future generations. In addition, we're looking at the reconstruction of Kincaid Park over in Water Street. Amy Kincaid. Kincaid was another major prominent business person in Quincy. And that we're looking at how that can best serve the new middle school as well as the next one. So we're looking at some changes in that, and that's going to be a significant project. It's going to be a complete renovation of that facility. Permitting for the Mount Street Beach area and the boathouse. We've talked a little bit about it. I remember Councilor Crow with me down with Jay Cashman, the shipyard a couple of years ago, to announce Jay Cashman's commitment to build and pay for a new boating facility for rowing, which would also serve for kayaking and canoeing as well. Mr. Cashman is still committed to that. There's some challenges in the permit because this is a designated port area, even though this has been a recreational use for 150 years. So we're working through that process. And the money in here is for the permit and design work, and Mr. Cashman is going to pay for the actual structure and piers associated with it. Lights at Quarry Hills, the Little League facility up there. Quincy Youth Baseball has raised some money and got some in-kind donations to put some lights on a couple of those fields up there, and this will kind of match that grant. and get that finished up for the playing season, hopefully this year. The completion of the Ray Gunn baseball field and Florida clubhouse field improvements. And I know again, the council's been working on that. Replacement of turf at Veterans Stadium. The last big one we did the new turf facility at Veterans Stadium. It was guessed that it lasts around 10 years. Well, it's around 10 years. The beauty is we don't have to rebuild the whole stadium. We just take up the carpet and put in the carpet. It has served the city very, very well. There'll be other improvements all across the city, just about every park. The last time we did improvements, we looked at tennis courts, basketball courts, street hockey courts, reconstructed a number of them. And others we repainted. Well, those are the ones that were minimally done and now need to be completely renovated. So in the cycle of park work, this is going to go a long way in bringing up facilities again. Actually, keeping them to the bar that we set. I think we hear from people visiting our city all the time on the sidelines what great facilities we have. So this will continue to keep that reputation. Community preservation, last few years, they've been committing about $500,000 a year to the parks, various programs. And the issue that comes up frequently before them is the tot lot reconstruction. We did about 24 tot lots about 20 years ago. And those now, time is up for those to be replaced. What I'm going to be asking of the Community Preservation Committee is to do a similar program to this, and that we bond the total amount, which would be between $5 and $6 million, and then we take that $500,000 that's already committed each year to park use, put that revenue towards that bond. What that allows us to do now is, rather than the various groups that come before the CIP, before this body, and before our office, competing for those dollars, we now can upgrade all of them at the same time in a very good way. We're including in that, in the wear zones, under those swings and all, we have the wood chips, we put the rubberized material in, which would help easier maintenance long-term and safer for the kids using it. So that has not come to a final decision. It's a recommendation at this point. I've spoken to the chairman of the Community Preservation Committee, and we'll talk to the group directly on that as we go forward. So we can go over to the now the capital plan, which deals with a lot of issues. As I said in the first slide, we have an awful lot of public buildings across the city. And you think about that, about 20 school buildings, you get 8 firehouses, the police complex, DPW complex, which has several buildings, Park and Rec complexes, several buildings, libraries. We have a lot of city buildings. And again, we are the custodians of those assets. You can't continue to let those go over time, as we know with our homes, what happens when you do that. So I view that as a major responsibility that we do have. And how do we leave those assets to the next body here, to the future generation? I think you pay now, you pay later, and this is a case of us dealing with those needs we have in each and every one of these buildings. What makes this job a little bit easier is we have a very professional public buildings department, which has not been around that many years. As you may recall, a few years ago, we combined the maintenance with the city side, school side, and we've been able to build a department with incredible craftsmen, you name it, electricians, plumbers, painters, carpenters. They do an incredible job keeping up these capital assets. However, there are many things that need more than just the regular maintenance. So we're looking at a number of programs in our buildings, technology, infrastructure, and equipment. The public building side, central maintenance has been huge. And I remember part of my argument to the school committee at the time was anytime you have maintenance in the same budget against classroom expenses, you're never going to be able to build that maintenance because you're competing with the same dollars. By creating a separate department now, we're able to grow that department through your cooperation, your help and support to a place where we've got in-house talent now that can do so much, not only on the actual work, but we've got some incredible folks that have great background that help us plan for going forward. So, as I mentioned, firehouses, libraries. We're looking at $9 million in public building improvements. See some of these slides. There's some work to be done out there. There's no question about it. The first one specifically, I guess I'd like to talk about far as a major way, is a new animal shelter. The animal shelter, I think it was built under Frank McCauley in the 80s. It's on Broad Street. It's not an area right next to Public Works, and the trucks and the salters and sanders are going by all the time, so there's no real true outdoor space for the animals to enjoy. The facility itself is not adequate, and it's not in great shape at all. Again, I thank the volunteers at the shelter who perform miracles down there every day. So we're looking at a new facility up on Quarry Street at the same location where I discussed previously about the new park. There's plenty of real estate up there, and the idea is to build a state-of-the-art new shelter. And with that shelter, put our canine unit from the police department there. I believe we have 9 dogs at this point, and they do an awful lot of good work, as we know, across the city in our public safety unit. Put our animal control office there as well, and then our shelter volunteers will also have a home they can be proud of. This is a little over $7 million program. However, that doesn't mean it'll cost us $7 million. We'll be seeking outside grants from other foundations and other resources, and I expect that number to come down. But much like when we go on school building authority, we look for the total dollar amount, what the cost would be, and then we don't have to go to that level. So that's the plan for the animal shelter. Again, I think it's a great location, centrally located. Public safety headquarters. I know I floated this discussion a couple of years ago. Anyone that's been in the police station knows that there's some real challenges with that building. I know hindsight is it's easy to look back and say we could have, should have. There's a case of a new building probably should have been built, that one come down. It has been problematic from day one with leaks, with HVAC issues, etc. So it's time to look at the whole parcel, and I've engaged discussions with folks internally in the various departments about potential new public safety headquarters, meaning that we would then also look at the central firehouse in Quincy Avenue and build a new firehouse at this same location and put together a police and main firehouse along with the police department. And I think there's some great efficiencies there with the 911 system. It's a great location as far as getting out of the site, getting around the city. In addition, we'll be looking at perhaps going another story or two and taking care of some other needs we have. For example, our veteran services is in an old bungalow on High School Avenue. It's kind of separated, isolated from the general public, and makes it a little more challenging. Our senior center is really thriving, and the health department down there, I'd like to take out and put them in this facility so that the senior center can be complete use of that building. We've got tremendous programming happening there. There's more than 4,000 members at the Kennedy Center, and they would love to have that additional space to continue to add programming. So I think that works very well. If you've been in 55C Street, the Special Services Department is not a great space. They're on top of each other, and I would look to put the Inspection Services building and down the road, perhaps the Public Buildings Department as well. Additionally, if you could put some state-of-the-art storage facility for our records. That's been a challenge. I know the clerk and the former clerk has been on that issue for a number of years. We have some storage. We pay rent some storage facilities today, which doesn't make sense, so I think we should pursue that as well. So this is early. This is a request to do some early design and engineering, and then bring it back to this body after some work is done, so that this body could make some decisions based on some of the homework and due diligence that will happen with this piece. As part of the program, we are asking for the purchase of the Bryan Post on Broad Street. The idea would be, right now, we're doing the Bryan Post with our public buildings tradesmen. We have to get them out of the old Sterling basement, where they've been for a number of years after the new high school was built. It used to be the Oboe Tech. So the carpenter shops, plumbing shops, and all of those areas we need to find a home for. We think that on an interim basis, they could slide into the Bryan Post. I was actually married there a long time. It's been open as a facility for a long time. It's a great location. We feel we get C Street over to Broad Street, look at all of the issues related to that municipal complex, including public works and the layout. At some point, Mr. Koch, Dan Koch, has been very generous with our fire department, For those of you that don't know, it allows us to use a major facility down there for the mechanics and storage. You know, as the value of the yard goes up and we see development down the road, I'm sure that we're not going to be able to stay there forever. So we'll be looking at that issue as well, whether we can work that into this master plan of this municipal complex. Next, I'd like to touch on the schools. As you know, we made great progress on the schools today. And I know that this body has been an integral part of that. We voted for the Quincy High program, we voted for the Central Middle School program this past fall, we voted for the authorization to move forward for the old Sterling Middle School in Southwest Quincy, which is going to be replaced. And we've been very successful. I thank our legislators for funding this program. I thank Treasurer Goldberg, Jack McCarthy, the SBA for the work and the partnership they have had in getting these things done. So, but we can't rest on our laurels. And you know, we've got a number of municipal buildings, and I purposely asked a number of folks, school committees, school administrators, what do you think the next worst plan is as far as schools go? And it was unanimous that the Squam School has a lot of issues and a lot of challenges. And it was added on a couple of occasions. It's not really quality, those additions. So it's time, and I know we're going to be renewing that interest as far as getting back in the queue with the school building authority. We've been in the queue for a couple of years now, but I think until Sterling gets going, they're probably not granting us another grant until that thing gets rolling. So we're looking at that. And I'm sure we'll be working with the council from West 6 on that plan. Council. And then a new West Quincy Elementary School site. And I talked about this a little bit publicly not long ago. As folks know, the St. Mary's School closed a number of years back. The convent was sold off and condominiums have been built there. That leaves the school, which has been on the market for lease or sell. We've been negotiating with the Archdiocese of Boston and the Quincy Catholic Collaborative. And I feel strongly we should acquire this property and then begin the planning for a new school on that site. It's not often that real estate is available for this type of use when you're in a built-out urban area. This was a school site, so the neighborhood was used to a school, although I'm sure council, some of the neighbors won't remember it when we move forward on community meetings. But having said that, kids from West Quincy, the other side of the expressway, belong to Montclair School and Montclair Elementary School. We were a city of neighborhood schools, and when Prop 2.5 came through, and there were a lot of closes that had to be made, again, I'm not second guessing. I think the West Quincy area of the city was gypped. I think that you know, the travel distance for them far exceeds any other part of our city. So my recommendation, and I know there's a lot of votes that have to happen, including this body first on the land. My colleagues in the school committee will take a look at this and have a vote on it. In my discussions with the superintendent, a new small elementary school would serve that neighborhood very well, would also ease up space at Montclair, Wollaston, and probably look at Hancock to some degree. As we know, the old schoolhouses that were built way back when were built pretty straightforward: classrooms, restrooms, nurse's office, principal's office. And the education space today requirements far exceed that. You have specialists coming in, you need space on one-to-one. So this would go a long way, not only in solving for West Quincy, but really freeing up space in some of those other school buildings so they can better educate our kids. So that's a separate, that's part of the CIP, but that'll be a separate issue. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about going forward. Did a lot of technology in this program. Last year, as you know, we did a lot of technology upgrades in the school system. And this year, we're looking for some various items, radios for police and fire departments and our first responders. We need to keep up with the technology and the radios for them, not only for safety for, you know, for the public, but for them as they serve on the front lines. New software for managing our tree inventory, and new software to manage our public buildings and public infrastructure. So if we put a nice program together, it'll be far easier going forward. You know, managing this, coming up with a good system, and it'll pay dividends long term, in my belief. Can we go to infrastructure? Additional infrastructure. One of the major items in here is we did an RFP not long ago, and we had 14 to 15 companies respond. One has been chosen and recommended to me by the committee. And the RFP talked a lot about every aspect of the city. It's been a long, long time since the city has looked at a major traffic study. I think Franklin County did even the mayor the last time it was done. And we're going to be looking at everything: intersection, signalization, pedestrian safety, bike lanes, a master plan, signage, residential parking permits enablers. All of that is in the mix. There'll be a series of public meetings, work with each of the ward councils and the councils at large on priorities and their areas and things that we can fix. This is a program that could take up to 2 years. That doesn't mean we can't cherry pick some things right out of it early on and begin implementing some of those items. It doesn't mean we're going to slow down in other areas. For example, as you all know, we've done some major intersection work. The next one that's going to be done is C Street. We're working with MassDOT on C Street between Quincy Shore Drive down to Palmer Street. So again, our state legislators provided some funding for that. We're grateful for that. So again, we'll be going neighborhood by neighborhood and trying to fix a lot of long-term challenges and problems that we do have. It'll give us a roadmap, a plan going forward, if you will, that we can chip away at then as money is available. Of course, design and permit for continuing flood relief projects. As some of you may remember, I know some of you were here, the city was inundated in the spring of 2010 with the March floods. It was very, very challenging for a lot of folks. We had neighborhoods, that went underwater, were taking people out of their homes and boats. That comes up every so often. It's easy to forget about it for a while, but at the time we committed as a city to make a difference and make some changes so these people wouldn't have to put up with that every time there was a major rainstorm at work worrying about their basements flooding at home. They pay taxes like everybody else, and they deserve retention. So in this, we're looking at some more design and permitting work to continue some of those efforts. Arlington Street Pump Station has been identified as a needy that would serve the Wallace and Montclair area, Council Kane's area there. You going to open up those cookies and share those, or I'm just going to sit on what did you bring? Thank you, Council. Furnace Brook, we continue to make improvements along Furnace Brook. West Quincy, right down to Blacks Creek. A reminder that Blacks Creek is an area that's not only beautiful as an estuary, but it serves as a function as flood control. So when those gates drop low tide, that allows the basin to fill up. This is upstream Furnace Brook. We've had some success. Council knows certainly Congressman Lynch is very helpful in getting a $5 million grant for pump station in the middle of cross streets. This is in that same area. We've got to make some decisions on Albert Road. We weren't as successful on the pump station through FEMA for that. So we're going to support community meetings and decide how to go forward. Whether we do that or we try to purchase some homes and create a meadow where it could overflow. So we'll continue to work that with our engineers. Seawalls, you voted recently on the match to the state grant that we received to come up with a plan to upgrade the seawalls essentially on the back of the houses along C Street, during on that insured housing activity. Water infrastructure and sewer infrastructure comes out a little bit different category because we have a water and sewer enterprise fund. Therefore, the monies for that are generated through those funds. And as you know, we have programs, matching programs that we take advantage of with the NWRA. Low interest loans, in some cases, no interest loans, we'll continue to take advantage of and continue to do water pipe replacements and sewer issues going forward. Roads, you appropriated last year some money that you're going to be seeing happening this year. You saw Bergen Parkway, a section get done, some of that money. The section of Southern Artery between Quincy Avenue and down around 1000 Southern Artery. Those were both in very, very poor condition. And there's about another dozen streets. I know we're working with some of the councils here. Those are out to bid as we speak, and this summer we'll see construction on those. It appears the state's going to come up with about $200 million in Chapter 90 money, which I think is about $1.5 million for us in the upcoming fiscal year. So that'll be plugged in, augment the money that's in there from last year. This is an area we have a lot more work to do. There's no question about it. You get calls, we get calls, the drivers can see. We need some more attention to the roads, there's no question about it. And as I indicated before, I think the last couple of budgets, as we As we free up from that 2 year ago storm event we're still paying for, that will then create some capacity and room to do more roads. My goal is to have in the city budget or an item in the public works to actually do roads over each and every year, so much I can do sidewalks. Next year we'll be back probably more on the next phase, how we're going to tackle the road issues. Finances, just a reminder on the work we've been doing together. And when I say that, I mean together. When you think about all the projects that we've done, we've had great cooperation from our federal officials, especially Congressman Lynch. We've had tremendous support from the state. The governor and Governor Baker and his team have been terrific. Our legislators have just been phenomenal in every step of the way. Obviously working with this body and the school committee on the key votes, moving projects forward is just short of awesome. I mean, it really, that's the way it's supposed to be. Residents expect things to get done. It's our job to get it done. And I think we're doing it pretty well. If you see here, we've received more than $110 million in reimbursements from the state to date. That does not include the $29 million commitment the state has made for the historical school, which is big. $46 million already for state and federal grants in the downtown. You've seen all the work we've done. People forget quickly, but we moved the town of Brooks. We built the Hannah Parkway. We've rerouted Hancock Street, and now we're about to do the next phase of Adams Green. We have in place a preliminary approval for $40 million in additional grants through the IQ program. That is tied to commercial development. And as you know, Mr. Rod Hale and Foxtrot is committed to some major commercial development on the parking way side, which will kick this program in nicely. It's essentially the new taxes generated out of it replenish the fund as people draw off the project. So that's going to be very helpful. And our sewer rehab fund has increased significantly since 2010, and that is again is paid for as developers come in and contribute to that fund, which then allows us to then do approvals to the city. And lastly on that, as we talked about the hotel motel tax capacity increases, both because the bond is diminished and also rates go up every year. So as is a percentage of the room tax, it's not a number, therefore as the room rates go up, so does the percentage the city retains. So we're in a healthy place with those. And the financing capacity, we're well within the policy limits for borrowing. We have the best bond rating the city has ever had. We still have historically low interest rates. Another reason to move forward in some of these projects. Money is cheap to borrow. Let's get these things done. We save millions in the long term when we do that. And we have a lower debt burden than most cities and towns across the state, so we can't afford this. And I would make that argument that, as I made 2 years ago when I was up for re-election, and there was questions a number of times about the mayor's spending. And I said it then, I'll say it now, we're investing. All these dollars we're talking about are investments in our city's future, in our buildings, in our parks, in our infrastructure. And whether you live here, continue to live here, or you think about additional folks coming to live here, we need to do these things to provide the best services, the best opportunities, and really maintain and go forward to the next generation and hand them over a city that we can all be proud of. It always comes down to dollars and cents. I'm certainly aware of that. And I look back at just that debate that went on in 1885 with Charles Francis Adams, and the city did not want to spend $16,000. Imagine that, he paid $16,000 for all those parcels to create Merriman Park. Those parcels today are worth, gosh, I don't know, tens and tens of millions of dollars. That was an investment that was made at the time. We built on that investment in that park. I'm incredibly proud of our schools. It's not just about the buildings. Obviously, it's what goes on in the classroom, between the teacher and the child. But it's our job to go and provide the best facilities. Now, in the early part of the last century, the folks that sat in those seats, folks that sat in the mayor's office, made those commitments big time. We built schools all across the city, granite, brick, solid buildings, and still enjoying today, because they made the investment at the time in the city's future and the kids' future. So we got to continue to do that as a city. Again, it happens in the classroom, but we need to provide the best, safest learning environments for these kids as possible. We owe it to our firemen. They're out there putting it on the line every day Some of these firehouses were built for a horse and buggy, and they're not where they should be. Structurally, there's challenges. We've had to shore up a lot of the floors because the apparatus is so much heavier today, dealing with things. We owe our first responders to the police department to provide them the best possible facility. It's not only for them, but it's also for the public that comes in and gets served from that building. So I know that all of these items are going to go to committee. There's going to be some spirited discussion, I'm sure, some great dialogue. Our staff, department heads, managers will be available to answer all those questions, and I'll be available at any time as well to make some of those, answer some of those questions if need be. This is a significant appropriation. There's no question about it. $27 million in the parks paid for by the room tax. I hope I've said that enough to make sure that that's clear. That's not coming out of the property tax, that's the room tax. And then the general fund will pay for what we're talking about here tonight, if all approved. Now, we've talked last year, we'll talk again this year, and I know my finance team will get into it, with plenty of capacity to do this. And I would again remind you the importance of getting some of this stuff done while we still have historically low interest rates. Can't emphasize that enough. That's millions of dollars of difference over time. You'd have to look wanting something for 20, 30 years. Let's see, what else do we have? I guess that's about it. I do want to wrap up with a comment to say again, thank you. Thank you to this body. You see the list of things we've accomplished together. Thank you to the school committee for their commitment. Thank you to our legislative delegation for their commitment. We have a number of folks that serve on boards and commissions that are part of all of this, work hard without compensation. We thank them. My department heads, managers, employees, my staff. We're all in this together, and we work together. Look at what we've really accomplished over the last few years. And I know the list is there. Third school's on the way. There seems to be some controversy at the time about the track. That controversy's gone. The track's getting well used every day to drive by here. We've rebuilt parks all across the city. The senior center. We had one of the largest senior populations in the state. We had no senior center. Think about that. It's remarkable the Kennedy Center program we've done. We're looking to add to that with some of the forward of future use of forward, perhaps to the satellite senior center. Old City Hall, the place we're in today. This wasn't without controversy making a commitment on this. It was a lot of money. And those folks that questioned this project. After the project was done, I haven't heard anybody question this project. Everybody has enjoyed it and think we did the right thing. It's also, it's obviously a beautiful space for you folks to meet in. But this place was in bad shape. And once we started to do the study of the facility, we realized we couldn't leave it any further. So again, this is the gift for the next generation. So folks are going to be deliberating here. Folks that be out here in the audience and then coming to this microphone to weigh in on the project. So, the Coddington building, one of those great schools I mentioned, built back in 1928 as an elementary school. Beautiful, granite brick. You couldn't build that today. Renovation with that project. Obviously, schools are in there, school administration, planning, IT departments. We were once paying rent for those departments. It's now a wash in the budget. And we saved a beautiful historic and architectural gem. New seawalls, flood relief, water mains, as I mentioned, rebuilt intersections, and all kinds of infrastructure challenges. So when we work together, great things happen. I appreciate the time tonight. I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any. But I know this is coming for the first time. There are appropriation orders that follow this in sequence, and we look forward to the debate, dialogue, and discussion as we move forward. Now, next time we appear before you, it'll be for the annual appropriation to fund our city budget. And my hair is going to be a little shorter next time I come in, so don't laugh when I come in the chamber next time. But we are cognizant, as we're building that budget, we're working on that now, of all of this. We're doing all of this and what it means in the budget, debt service, as well as the operating budget. So again, I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your service. And I look forward to working with you in the months ahead to accomplish great things for this great city of Providence. Thank you, Madam President.